again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Morty and Glory video. In today's episode, we continue to pore over, analyze, and baselessly speculate on the datasheets that have been revealed by Games Workshop for 10th edition. This time, we're going to be reviewing the Short Kings of the Imperium, everybody's favourite sci-fi hobbits, the Ratling Snipers. So without further ado, let's shoot sharp and scarper right into today's video. As it's quickly becoming tradition in this series, we shall start off with a brief overview of what the hell Ratling Snipers even are. This is really for those new players, people that are maybe getting into the Guard for the first time, or even 40k in general. So, Ratlings have always been a bit of a strange unit. They've never been particularly good, but they're also absolutely adored and beloved by the Guard community. And I think this just comes down to their lore, because they're very endearing. I mean, there's only one way to put this, boys. They're fat hobbits in space with sniper rifles. You're not meant to take them too seriously. They're more interested in eating than in fighting. They often claim they turned up to battles and they never left the sleeping bag. And any commissar or quartermaster worth his salt will immediately double the amount of sentries around the kitchens and around the armory the moment they find out they're sharing a camp with some Ratlings. They are the ultimate thieves, they are the ultimate scroungers, and overall, they're just a great little unit to have in your collection. And amazingly, considering how they have always been kind of shit, they are actually a pretty common model to find in Guard players' collections, because not only are they very endearing, they're also quite a venerable unit. We have had access to Ratling Snipers as far back as 2nd edition, and I'm sure there's even been cases in Rogue Trader, but that's a little bit before my time. Let me know down in the comment section if you know when Ratlings were first introduced into the game. But my point is that despite the fact that they've never really been very good, and the fact that there have been a lot of other models that probably were more deserving of not getting cut, Ratlings have always made it through from edition to edition, from codex to codex, and because of this, people just can't help but pick a unit or two of these things up because they just feel right at home in your Guard army. But all of that is ancient history. Now let's look to the future. What are Ratlings going to be like in 10th edition? Well, I don't mean to alarm anyone. And if you're a veteran player, you're definitely going to want to sit down for this. But Ratlings look okay. In fact, they don't just look okay. They look decidedly not terrible. In fact, I may be so bold to say that Ratlings actually look very good. For the first time in over 2 decades of me playing this game, I am actively looking forward to running my Ratling Snipers. And not just in like a narrative or a meme or a fun game, but I'm actually scrabbling around right now, finding all the different sniper bits I can, all the sniper models that I can get my hands on, because I think I'm going to want 3 squads of these bad boys. Of course, points depending. Now, before you all start phoning the police and trying your very best to get me sectioned because you believe I've clearly jumped off the deep end, let me take you through the datasheet for these bad boys, and then you can decide whether you think I need to be institutionalized. And let's begin with that stat line. Ratlings have now got a movement of 6 inches. This might seem very normal for an infantry squad, but they've always had like a 4-inch or 5-inch move because they've only got little legs. But now GW is like, nope, Ratlings have been hitting leg day. Those bigger feet give them more traction, they can move faster, and they're getting a full-blown 6-inch movement, which is actually quite nice and pairs nicely with one of their abilities we'll be looking at in a moment, called Shoot Sharp and Scarper. They have retained their toughness of 2 though, which does make them exceptionally fragile. I mean, even bolters are going to wound these guys on 2s, and lasguns are going to wound them on 3s. Even grot blasters are going to wound them on 3s. But the thing with Ratlings is that if they're getting shot at, something's kind of gone wrong. because they're meant to sit back and plink away with their rifles. They've also only got a 6+ armor save, so if they get caught out in the open, they're just going to get turned to red paste in a heartbeat. And what's interesting is they have lost an ability. I know we're dancing a little bit around here, but comparing them to their old 9th edition datasheet where they had a 6+ save, but they got +2 to their save in cover rather than +1, that's all gone away now. So a Ratling in cover will only get a 5+ armor save now. And though it's unsurprising, they've only got 1 wound as well. So when you put all that together, you've got a unit that really cannot afford to be shot at in any way, shape or form if it wants to actually survive the battle. They also only have a leadership of 8+, which is lower than the guard standard of 7+, but is actually in line with what I expect them to have. They've always had worse leadership than everyone else in the guard, and in the lore, they're well known for running away and living to fight another day if they actually turn up to the battle at all. Last and probably least, they only have an objective control of 1. Again, this makes sense for them. In previous editions, they've always been classed as an elite's choice. In this case, in 10th, they're not battle line, and as a result, getting a lower objective control just makes sense for this unit. Now, you might be forgiven for looking at that stat line and going, Mordian, I thought you said these guys were good. Apart from getting an extra inch of movement, everything I've seen looks bloody terrible. Well, hold your horses, honey, because I got vouchers for the Pringles. Where they start to shine is in their new weapon stat lines. You see, they come with the sniper rifle, and this weapon has received a big glow up. It is heavy, which means if you stay still with it, you will receive +1 to hit. No longer is it a case of moving gives you a -1. You just want to stay still to get a bonus. And also, they are precision. And let me tell you, gentlemen, ladies, small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri, precision is going to be extremely valuable in 10th. Thanks to the fact that nearly all characters of worth are going to have the leader special rule. Leader allows a character to embed himself in a squad of his minions, essentially using their followers as ablative wounds. This can be a real problem. You might have a character that's buffing the crap out of the rest of your opponent's army, acting as a huge force multiplier. Or you might have someone who is doing a lot of damage to you and you just can't get them because they just keep being surrounded by their followers. And many of these squads, as we've seen with a lot of different faction focuses and reveals, have the ability to regrow models into their squads. I mean, you've got Tyranids of the Endless Swarm, you've got Genestealer Cult with their cult banners, you've got the Necrons with Reanimation Protocol. You might spend the whole game trying to chew through these blocks of infantry and never get to the character at the center who's causing you so many problems. But precision makes all of that go away because it allows you to target the characters inside the units, cutting the head off the snake. Of course, having precision is all well and good, but you need a weapon that can really take advantage of the rule. And I think snipers are going to be that weapon. They've kept their 36-inch range, which is actually something that should be praised because a lot of weapons are finding their ranges reduced in 40k 10th edition. I think GW is essentially adapting weapon ranges to the smaller board size that they've implemented over the course of 9th and 10th. So keeping that 36 is good. It gets 2 thumbs up from me. Now they are only 1 attack, but they get ballistic skill 3+. Now this is really important because Ratlings have always had ballistic skill 3+, but previously, because they had heavy weapons and that gave you a negative to moving, it meant that if you moved with your sniper rifle, you would only have a ballistic skill of 4+. But now, you can be running around the battlefield, hip firing those snipers, and you still get the 3+, but if you stay in position, your Ratlings get +1 to hit. So if you get your Ratlings into a good position, good firing lane early on, they're going to not need to move, and they're going to be hitting on 2s the entire game. And any guard unit that can get up to hitting on 2s is fantastic. But not only have the Ratlings been going to the range, they've also obviously been bribing the tech priests to upgrade their weapons. because they're strength 4. Okay, that's pretty standard. That's what they were before. But they're now AP -2 and 2 damage. It wasn't so long ago that sniper rifles were AP nothing and 1 damage. So they've had 2 extra pips of AP and they've doubled their damage output as well. I mean, let's do some quick napkin math hammer here. Let's take a squad of 5 Ratlings and shoot them at the new platoon commander. That's a good example of a guardsman or guardsman equivalent character. You'd have 5 shots. Now if you stood still, they're all going to hit. And then you're going to wound with 3 to 4 of them. Let's give the Ratlings a challenge. Let's say they only wound with 3 of them. All right. Well, the platoon commander doesn't have an invulnerable save anymore. He's only got a 5 of armor save. So all 3 of those are going to go through. And they do 2 damage each. So you've just killed a platoon commander. And probably the guy stood next to him as well. That is a huge improvement. Back in the day, in almost any edition that I can think of, Ratlings have never killed anything. I took a squad of 5 to a tournament and shot them 5 turns every game for 5 games, and they killed, over the course of the tournament, 2 Space Marines. That was it. Now, they are picking off guard characters with ease. If you were to take the same squad and shoot them at a Space Marine Lieutenant, you would get your 5 hits, and then you'd get 2 to 3 wounds. And if you got 3 wounds at AP -2, then that Space Marine Lieutenant is likely to only pass 1 of those armor saves, and he fails 2, taking 4 damage, killing the Space Marine Lieutenant. Any veteran guard player right now will be telling you that this is unprecedented. Ratlings have never had the ability to do this before. They've always just been one of those units that you plinked off shots, they never did anything, but you just took them because they were kind of fun. Now we're seeing them not only able to deal with guard characters, but also able to threaten Space Marine low-level characters as well. And this is a single squad. If you turn up with a couple of squads of these things, you're going to be able to threaten even mid-level characters. And 3 squads, I think, unless you're running a special character like a Baden or something particularly tough like a Swarm Lord, no humanoid-sized character is going to be safe on the battlefield. Long story short, Ratlings just went from a total meme to a genuine battlefield threat. Something your opponent is going to have to take into account, because if he doesn't, he's going to be punished for it. And this allows you to shape the battlefield to your will. But not only have they had a big improvement to their weapons, they've also retained a lot of the really valuable abilities that they had in the previous codex. Some of these have changed and are now part of the core rules, but they basically do the same thing. Infiltrators means that you can get your Ratlings into a good spot on the battlefield early on, meaning you don't need to move around and you can take advantage of that heavy and that 2+ to hit early on. And stealth gives them a -1 to hit from ranged weapons, which gives them a much needed boost in durability. But most important of all, they kept the shoot sharp and scarper rule. How this works is, in your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, if it is not within engagement range of any enemy units, it can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase. If it does until the end of the turn, this unit is not eligible to declare a charge. Basically, Ratlings have got jump, shoot, jump. So you can hide them behind some line of sight blocking terrain, move them out, shoot with them, and then move them back. And this is where that extra inch of movement is really helpful, because it means you can move them out a little bit, make sure you can get the angle, and then once you're done, you'll have plenty of movement to get them back round into that nice bit of line of sight blocking terrain. Now, yes, shoot sharp and scarper doesn't pair well with the heavy rule on their sniper rifles, because if they move out, they're not getting that +1 to hit. But they're still hitting on 3s. So they're still more than a threat to any low-level guardsman equivalent characters. And if you take a couple of squads, you're still going to be able to threaten those marine characters too. So yeah, overall, Ratlings are looking pretty bloody tasty, and not only am I looking forward to getting the ones I already own out onto the tabletop as quickly as possible, but I'm also more than likely going to pick up a couple of extra boxes just to round out my collection. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Are you finally tempted to pick up some Rattling snipers, or are they just not the unit for you? If you've enjoyed today's video, make sure that you smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. And if you found this whole thing particularly entertaining or informative, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon supporter. By becoming a supporter, you unlock a whole bunch of perks, but the biggest one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server. This is an online community with over 1,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MD Discord, and we've got channels for discussing tactics, army lists, painting, hobbying, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. In fact, we've got a painting competition happening right now. So if you want to slay the grey and make some friends along the way, then please consider becoming a channel member and jumping in that Discord server. And I just want to take a moment to say a big thank you to the latest channel members: Jordan Smith, Kraz, George Frost, Zar, Florian, DXP, Nick F, Daniel S, and Anarian. Thank you guys for doing your part. I also want to shout out the latest Patreons as well. So a massive thank you to Michael S, Legendary Hot Dog, Kapusa, Strigoi Gold Queen, Mark Wilson, and Marion David Kinsel. Thank you guys for becoming Patreons. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal, heartfelt thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are my War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a massive thank you to Alan Blunt III, Bon Bon Vert, Mark Panconi, Ross Miller, Swordfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Thank you guys. Your ongoing and incredible support is a huge part of how I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.